all that stuff plays to a factor really no one pays attention to. So this is actually for the CT4 Blackwing, the V6 twin turbo model. I think we're the only one on the market right now that sells a turnkey CT5 Blackwing catch can with lines and everything. Alright, today we're going to talk about different pistons and ring packs because we get asked frequent questions like what pistons we use or whatever it might be. And there's lots of different options out there for different applications. And just also go show what we put into a factor if you get an engine built by us or send your car here. A lot of shops out there are just buying an off-the-shelf piston. They don't really even know what size the rings are or what you're even putting in the engine, and then you lose tension in the ring and you wonder why or whatever it might be. So to start out with everything, we mainly use diamond. All the piston manufacturers are very similar though. I'm not going to say anything else is junk because Wiseco and Crollo, a couple of these other brands also make a good piston. I just wanted to go over a couple different things on coating, not being coated, different size oil rings, different size top and second rings, how far the ring is down from the top of the piston, gas ports, all your good stuff. Here is a piston that has a black anodized coating on it.
Let me do a little close up real quick.
Yep.
Yeah,
so this is a coating that, now they offer all kinds of different coatings, but this is a coating that really protects the piston and it's not smoke and mirrors. It actually works well. Top fuel guys use it in their nitro cars, and it kind of followed down to slower stuff. So if you're off in your tune-up a little bit, this can save you. But if this saves you from burning up a piston, it could get something else like a valve or a sleeve or ring or pincher ring or lift ring or whatever. So it's not always necessarily a good thing to have this, because you kind of want something to fail. If you want the piston to fail first, you don't want this coating, if that makes sense.
Right. I'm
talking race car stuff, you know. So street car, you really don't need this coating, to be honest with you. A little overkill, and we don't really do it. Here is a basic piston right here with no coating at all on it. Now these pistons both look different. They're a little bit bigger in this one's a little
good catch.
This one's a little bit bigger in bore size. Oh, this one's mine, so it doesn't really matter. This one's a little bit bigger in bore size than this one.
We're showing off how that is.
The customer walked in. Yeah, anyways, this is not coated, this is coated. Now sometimes we'll get the sides coated, just the skirt itself, to get the piston wall a little tighter in the application. If you have a lot of stroke, you can try to cock the piston in high RPMs and you want a little tighter piston wall, but the coating on the side is made to wear off, so it'll clearance itself. And it actually makes a little bit more power. If you're like a naturally aspirated, you know, all out, trying to get everything you can out of it, the side coating is the way to go. This piston also is a full skirt compared to this, if you look at the difference. It's a full round skirt.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you guys can tell, but maybe flip them. Yeah, flip them straight up too, from that perspective. Yep, that's a good one right there, because y'all can see how this one's got the cutout. This one completes.
Yeah. So this makes it heavier, which is down. Like if you're naturally aspirated, it's just kind of not the way to go, because it's just heavy. You don't want a heavy rotating assembly. You want everything as light as you can. But if you are pushing 50 pounds of boost or something, you kind of want this guy. So it's just much stronger, more rigid. You can see underneath it's got a lot more pin support than this guy does.
Yeah, that's.
So in an LS application, if you build a 416, for example, it's a 4-inch stroke, and you cannot run a full skirt piston with the reluctor wheel in an LS engine. So you have to run like something like this,
right,
which is fine. But if you're running like a factory stroke or a 375 stroke, you can get away with this guy. It just really depends. Like, I don't really put this stuff in street cars, to be honest with you. It mainly gets this piston, this style piston I should say. It's a 927 pin. This is a 990 pin. So the pin sizes are much bigger in this one than this one.
Yeah,
can you see it?
You guys can tell. They can probably tell a little bit.
A 990 pin's a big block pin. So you're starting to get, you know, big power pistons right there. With that being said, you know, you can make a real strong piston out of something and it'll hold up. Your top ring is, in my opinion, the most important overlooked thing that people don't pay attention to. and it could be a problem if it's not perfect and something you're leaning on. So right on the side here is gas ports, right?
Yep.
So you got these gas ports.
I don't know if y'all can see, it's just a little tiny little divots in that line. Yep.
Now if you buy a piston from off the shelf, they don't really come with the gas ports. You just get your standard 120 top ring, no gas port deal. It's really not made to be leaned on with a big power boosted application. Anything under 900 horsepower, in my opinion, should probably get something like this. We'll get to that in a second. But so you got the gas ports, and what the gas port does, and you have a blower or nitrous even or turbo, it allows the combustion to get through there and push the ring out towards the cylinder wall. It seals it better. So you kind of want that, because in a, like I said, a boost application, it can actually try to push the ring towards the piston if you don't have something like that. Now there is an option where you can put the gas ports in the top of the piston or on the side. It's personal preference and theories and stuff like that. I won't really get into of what people want or like. But so another thing is how far you put the top ring down into the piston. So from the edge of the piston on the top and how far it goes down. That, it looks like about 300, I forget what it is exact, 300 thousandths down. This is not quite that on this. This probably is about 250 down from the top.
Side by side.
You know, here, I'll put them down. So I think, I don't know for sure because we do pistons all the time, I can't remember, but I want to say this is 250 from the down from the top, 300 down from the top. And the reason why you want it down further in a higher horsepower application is because there's a lot of pressure that goes on in there and it can pinch the top ring. This can pretty much, this eye rail on the corner can fold down and pinch it. But when you put down the top ring, and actually you got to play that into a factor with your compression in the engine, because it will lose a little bit of compression or gain compression depending on where you're putting the top ring, you know. So all that stuff plays to a factor that really no one pays attention to. Also, so there's another thing that goes into the top ring, is how thick the top ring is. So your common size is usually 0.43 or 1.2 millimeter. Like that's like kind of off the shelf. Like if you go on Diamond's website and do their standard LS series, I'm talking LS pistons. If you do your standard LS series, it's usually a 120. Now if you go to the 2K series, which they say handles 2,000 horsepower, you usually get a 1.5 top ring, 1.5 millimeter top ring, which is thicker. I usually custom order all of our stuff. I don't usually buy off the shelf stuff, so like I usually go in thousands, so 0.43 or 16th, which is I think 0.61 or 0.62. I could be wrong. It depends on the application, but usually I'm 50-50. Like street cars get like 0.43 stuff. It's really not, you know, you're not leaning on them, but like more race car stuff, or if you're leaning on the tune-up and spinning the blower really hard, then you get the 16th. The 16th will lose a little bit of horsepower compared to the 0.43 just because it's got more drag. Now here's an example of a 16th ring right here, and you can't really probably see this on camera, and here's a 0.43 ring.
Yeah, well they'll be able to tell that hold on, stack them, try to stack them side by side the best you can, because I can almost, I don't know, y'all might be able to kind of see that, but
yes, you can see a little bit, but it makes a big difference. Now I would never do this in a naturally aspirated combination. Actually, you can go a little bit thinner than 0.43 and something NA, because it frees up horsepower. You know, there's not as much drag on it, especially if you have a vacuum pump or something. A boosted, I don't really care. You know, you can put a 16th on the top and a 0.43 on the second, or a 16th. In this application right here, this is out of Joe's Mustang, that one that we went the yellow bullet with. This is the actual rod and piston out of it. It's aluminum rod deal. I'll get to that in another video, but it's a 990 pin, 3/16 oil ring, 16/16. It's 300 down, full skirt piston. I mean, this thing is just, it's nice. Like it's
the real deal.
This car makes upwards of 3,000 horsepower. You know, it handles 55 pounds of boost with a 110 millimeter turbo, so it needs to be beefy. You know, it's just something race car. Coating on Joe's Piston's the same coating I was just telling you about on this one.
Right.
But you can tell when your tune-up gets, not necessarily the tune-up, but when you lean on combination, stuff gets pretty spicy in the chamber there. It turns a little brown. Now the top is black, the bottom's brown, and I'll get into another video about why it turns one side of the piston, not the other.
Right.
Well, it has to do with the cylinder head chamber, blah, blah, blah. Now, this has a little dish in it, which is actually better for the chamber swirl and your cylinder what's going on. You don't want a big dome on it because it won't quench the fuel properly, depending on what fuel you run. This is methanol. This is kind of normal. You're leaning on the thing, you service every 50, 100 runs.
Right.
Really, every 50 runs, we're putting rings in it. Every 100 runs, we put new rods in it. They get stressed. If you order a set of 8 of these things with all the coating, a tool steel top ring, I mean, it's $3,000. You know, this is not a $1,100 piston set. So,
yeah.
I said tool steel ring. So you have two main, you know, we get total steel rings, and you have two main factors that we use. Total Steel sells a couple different things, but you either get an AP ring from us or you get a tool steel. I would say 90% of the time I'm ordering AP rings. It's a stainless ring, and it's more for street driving. It can handle a lot of power, like upwards of 2,000, like pretty easily. If you're leaning on something and you keep losing tension in your rings, as in like when you take the bottom end apart and the piston slides out real easy, you don't want that. You know, you want the ring to have really good tension. When you initially put a motor together, it's going to have good tension. Now, if you lose tension over time, which is caused from heat, but you're not melting the piston, then the ring's too weak for your application. So it can be fixed with a thicker top ring or a different material. The tool steel material is mainly made for race applications because the way it seals with the cylinder wall, it's not made to street drive, really, to be honest. AP is what everything gets shipped out of here really on, besides real fast race car stuff. A couple little things: if you go taking a bottom end apart and you put the ring down on a flat smooth surface and it's waffled like this, if you can put your finger on this and it's doing that, that means it got real hot, and it lost tension. Now this one's fine. These are both used, by the way, so this is fine. There is no wobble, and this it got cooked, so you're done. So the leak down is going to be 40%, or it's just going to suck. You know, you're gonna have a lot of blow by, whatever it might be. That's not necessarily from a tune per se. It could be from really anything. It could be from too much heat, which not necessarily is in the tune. So when you lean on your application, turbo, nitrous, or blower, it's creating a lot of heat. With that being said, here's a standard piston that's off the shelf. This is actually Dell's piston and rod combination. It's a stock rod, LT4 rod, half skirt piston, off the shelf, $1,000 piston set. You know, I don't really put them in anything that makes over $1,000 at all. On anything under $1,000, this is a good piston. It's basic. It doesn't have any gas ports. It's a very small oil ring. 043 top, 043 second. Comes with AP rings. This was just an off-the-shelf deal they usually have in stock. There's really nothing wrong with this, but you're making a good bit of power with, or if you want something better quality, this is not the one to go with. This is a stock rod, so you only want something so nice on a stock rod, you know? Stock style replacement is what I would call that. Much nicer than a stock piston, though. Yeah, that's pretty much it about pistons. I do want to talk about rings real quick, though, because, like I said, there's tool steel, there's AP, and that's the main two we use. This is a tool steel AP, and we use a Napier second ring on pretty much everything. But there's also a ring called a gapless ring, and what that is you put the top ring. This does not include the second or oil ring, but the top ring. Let me see if this is it. Yes, this is for this piston. So I'll put this on here. But you have a groove in this here.
There you go. There's the groove. Boom. Got it. You can definitely see it there. So
the groove part, there is a downside of a gapless deal. It makes a little bit more power. If you put them in naturally aspirated application, we'll run them. We run them in boosted stuff too, but you have to be careful because the top ring is a little thinner, you know, because it's got the groove. So when I say be careful, this wiper goes on the other side, so that's what makes it gapless. So you put this in, and you put the other side on, and you 180 it when you put the piston in the hole. So it goes like this, and it makes it gapless. So what that means, there's no gap at the ring, and it seals it even better. It really has like no blow by, or has a little bit, barely any, compared to a traditional regular ring. So with the ring being thinner, it can lose tension a little easier if it gets a little overheated. So you just have to be careful. I do like the gapless stuff, but it's not made for everything. I think that's really it for going over rings and pistons. I'm sure I missed a couple things. I can go on and on about it, but
just to kind of show people the different options and different routes.
There's more options than this even, but this is what we do mainly. So,
yeah, and kind of like the reasoning behind it, I guess you could say, right? You know, you guys need to, you know, it's important these are decisions that, you know, might cost you if you don't make the right one.
Yeah.
You know.
So whoever's doing your engine, you know, you're the purchaser and buyer. You guys probably don't know what all entails, but you can get some junk in your engine, really.
Oh yeah.
So we're a little bit more on the expensive side for sure, but we're putting this really quality stuff.
Do you like
we rarely use Chinese anything, as in like Cali's has a couple different lines of stuff. I love Cali's to death. Their Comstar series, for example, Cali's Comstar, they have a Comstar rod, they have a Comstar crank, and that's actually a separate brand under Cali's, but that's all made overseas. We rarely use Comstar stuff. If anything's getting 2650, it gets a Magnum with an I-beam Cali's Enforcer rod. That's an I-beam. You know, it doesn't get any kind of H-beam rod in it typically, right, unless it's a Cali's Ultra H-beam, which is kind of starting to fade out now. But that's a good rod still. Very rarely do we use anything that's on the cheaper side of. A Magnum crank, for example, is around $3,000. A Comstar's Cali's crank, same stroke, same everything. Spitballing this, but I want to say it's around $1,200. So there's a big price gap there. Yeah. You know, you might as well spend a couple extra dollars if you can. You know, yeah. The factory stuff anymore is almost as good as a Comstar, if not better.
Yeah.
So like the factory I-beam rod that comes in the LT4 is a good rod. Like I told Dell not to buy rods because I needed them. Yeah. So.
All right. So tell them what we got here.
We have a CT5 Blackwing catch can, 9 recirculating. You got 2-8 bungs on the side. The vent is on the top. These will always come in black because I'm not going through the process of having 40 different shades of reds and blues and yellows and whatever the case might be. So they're going to come into a semi-gloss black, and we will offer different colors in the top is where it says LMP. Something like this will handle good power, you know, 2-8's going to, depending on your ring gap and your application and stuff, but at least 1,000. You can call us if you want more, or 2-10s, or if you even want more. It's like 3-10s in this thing, it'll handle even more power. I think we're the only one on the market right now that sells a turnkey CT5 Blackwing catch can with lines and everything. Yeah. Check it out. So yes, the ZL1s have been out now. This is the ZL1 catch can. Goes on the strut. This goes on the strut as well. We'll show a picture in the video. Same thing with this, same color, 2-8, a drain. If there's a drain on this guy too. You'll get to choose the color top you want. So yeah. Very easy, very small. Very easy install. Catch can number 3. So this is actually for the CT4 Blackwing, the V6 twin turbo model. That's recirculating. So you got 2-8s going into it, and then you have a recirculating on here, and then you have the drain down here. And it's all baffled on the inside. This is not just a regular tube with welded up, so it's real nice. This guy's got a little flap in it right here, so it doesn't create a vacuum leak. Yeah, it's nice. This needs to be powder coated still, but this is the only one we have at the moment, and this is the other one that goes on the strut tower, and it's a little bit different shape because the CT4 is definitely different in that engine bay.
Right.
But when you buy this on the website, it will come with everything you need. Push lock, fittings for everything, and the drain too. So.
Okay, cool.
Yep, pretty much it.